driving the Suzuki Jimny Rhino Edition. People seem to think that this is the coolest Jimny on the market, the coolest Jimny that you can buy. And so I thought I'd come out in the middle of nowhere, drive some dirt roads, get some fresh air, some scenery, and see whether or not this is in fact the coolest Jimny you can buy. The Rhino Edition, let's backtrack a little bit. The Rhino Edition first kind of made its appearance on the SJ40. Somebody drew a little Rhino logo and they made a Rhino Edition. So this has kind of lived on through generations of Jimnys, where the Rhino Edition, every couple of years they make a Rhino Edition on the Jimny. And it's not actually a separate Jimny. It's not a different Jimny in any real sort of way. It's mostly a cosmetic change. There's a couple of things that they've changed on this, and so I'm going to take it for a drive, and I'm going to stop along the way here and explain to you exactly all the bits that are different with the Rhino. Just a quick recap on what this Jimny is. This is the top of the range GLX Auto. It's got a 4-speed gearbox, which surprisingly isn't as bad as I was expecting it to be. I still think the manual is better, and I'm not even a manual fan. It's got this weird kind of 4-wheel drive system. What am I in? There we go. Now we're in 4. Changes to 4-wheel drive. So in the previous Jimny there was like a button. This one has this weird little gear lever in the center here that you kind of pull back, and then it kicks it into 4-wheel drive. It immediately feels more solid on the road, especially a dirt road like this. It isn't that hardcore, but it just feels a little bit more planted along the road. So as I said, let's recap. This is a 1.5 litre 4-cylinder engine. It's mated to that 4-speed auto box. It produces the standard 75 kilowatts, 130 newton meters. So it is a bog standard Jimny. They all produce the same power from the same engines. So the only real thing that separates the kind of Jimny lineup, there's about 4 of them. The only thing that really separates them is sort of a spec level. You obviously get auto and manual boxes, so there's one of each. And then there's a GL spec and a GLX spec. GLX spec just has like more stuff in it, and this Rhino Edition is around the 380,000 Rand mark. So some of the things that make the Rhino Edition unique are these red mud flaps. You've got them on the front, you've got them on the back. You have these kind of rain and wind deflectors that sit above the mirror here, which are quite cool. And you also have these really cool decals. So they live on the side of the car here. There's a bunch here and a bunch on the bonnet. Then around the front of the Jimny, you've got what they call the heritage grille. So you see this actually looks a little bit different to like the standard Jimny, the GL or the GLX. Bear in mind, because this is the GLX, it's got the LED lights in the front and not the sort of normal halogen lights. So being a standard GLX model, ground clearance is 210 millimeters, which is 21 centimeters, which is quite a lot, and the Jimny can get over most things. You also have 15-inch alloys. This model is fitted with pretty much street tires. You have the option, obviously, of putting on more rugged off-road tires. And if you're going to go off-road, quite honestly, that's probably what you want to do. As part of the Rhino package, you get this vinyl tire cover, which has the Rhino logo on it. Now, something to note about the Rhino logo, it looks like a shield of armor. It's got shorter legs at the back than it does in the front, and that's kind of what makes the Suzuki Rhino logo unique. So the GLX model obviously is a 4x4. You have the All Grip badge over here, the Jimny badge, and again with the Rhino logo. The back of the Jimny is typical of how Jimnys have been since day one. They have the sort of outward swinging door. So when you open the door, it actually creates quite a large entrance for the boot, which is great right up until you're in tight spaces. This kind of space means if there's a wall behind you or a car behind you, you kind of can't get the door open all the way. But if you're in the middle of nowhere, it's not a problem. So the back of the Jimny has 2 seats. It's got a 50-50 split, so you can kind of pop it down like that, and that's half the boot, and this is the other half of the boot. If the seats are up, there's very little boot space. So if you really want to pack anything on the back of the Jimny, you have to have the seats all the way down, which means you can't have any passengers. But again, if you want to go into the middle of nowhere, you probably don't want to be taking too many people with you. So the interior of the Jimny is pretty standard. You have some grab handles here on the passenger side. It's all pretty rugged. This is all kind of very rugged, hard, tough material. Kind of a smallish cubby hole that pretty much holds the service book and the instruction manual. grab handle over here, airbag over here. In the center, and I'll turn it on for you, the radio, even if you turn it off, every time you turn the car on, the radio starts playing and you have to turn it off. There's also no volume knob, only the slider. This is a pretty standard Suzuki interface. USB cable there does give you CarPlay, which is great. Window on the left, window on the right, only the driver's side window is automated, traction control off and hill descent control. It has climate control, it's singular climate control, so not dual. You have these air vents here, which actually look like a little bit like the Citroen air vents. Multifunctional Suzuki steering wheel. You have all your sort of audio controls on the left, your cruise control on the right. The GLX does have cruise control, the GL does not, and all your telephone controls on the left at the bottom over here. Dash in the center, very orange, well illuminated, very basic and nothing sort of terribly fancy in here, but all very rugged and durable. This car will last you a very, very long time if you chose to buy it. In the center here, as I mentioned, it's a 4-speed auto, nothing too fancy over here. What is interesting is at the bottom you have a second gear. So if you are trying to pull and you don't want it to change gears, you can put it into second, you got more torque there. If you're off-road, you're trying to kind of pull yourself out of the mud, or you're trying to pull something heavy, that's useful, and there's a low range over here, so you can engage it. Below the gear lever, you have the selector for your wheel mode, so you can have 2 high, 4 high, or 4 range low. To engage 4 range low, you have to be stationary. You press it down, you put it back, and it goes into 4 low. If you want to be in 4 high, it kicks into 4 high, and then up into 2. 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive can be engaged while moving, as you saw me do earlier. I must say, like, I've been driving this Jimny now for a couple of days. It's all been on tar. I've been in 2-wheel drive mode, which makes it more economical and makes the turning circle easier. It basically just disconnects the front. And it's been fine. But the minute you come onto a dirt road, like there's just so much, there's this element of like fun and excitement and adventure that just comes alive in this car. Like if you own a Jimny and you don't ever take it off-road, and you don't ever take it off-road, like you're seriously missing out. This little car is so good off-road. It is such a joy. Oh man, this car is an absolute joy. It honestly is one of my favorite cars ever. Like my dad's got the previous gen one and I drive that one quite often and I just absolutely love it. And this new one is just, it's like more of the same but better, if you understand what I mean. Like they've just, the interior is still authentically Jimny, but it's better. It's got like CarPlay built in and like stuff like that, and like electric windows. It's more comfortable, it's quieter, it's more refined. The engine is bigger than the previous generation. We've gone from a 1.3 to a 1.5, so there's a bit more power. The gearboxes are better, but it's still a flipping Jimny, and it's absolutely fantastic. I just adore this car so much. I could drive this Jimny all day, every day, on mountain passes and dirt roads. This is like, I think, one of the perfect cars to try and do like a Cape Town Joburg trip, but like not go on any tar roads. Like you just drive dirt roads for like 3 or 4 days solid. In fact, I think that'll be a fantastic